how to make £1,000 profit a month from vintage reselling. Now I know this sounds unrealistic, but trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be making money in no time. Vintage reselling has exponentially grown in the past 6 months and completely blown up. Not only that, Vinted is the biggest second-hand marketplace in the whole of Europe now, beating your massive marketplaces like eBay and Depop. Not only that, just in the UK alone, there is 16 million different users all on Vinted. If you didn't know, this is a quarter of the UK's population. And with all this popularity, that means there's a lot of money to be made. This video is going to allow you to start before it's too late. But there's also a lot of fake gurus out there trying to sell you a course, trying to sell you their suppliers, and I'm going to give you all in today's video for completely free, so you have to sell for these bad courses. So in today's video, we're going to cover all the main aspects of vintage reselling, how to start, the buying process, the selling process, and must-know tips and tricks from someone who is very experienced in this area. And not only that, I'm going to give you a direct way of where you can buy your vintage stock some point in today's video, so make sure you stay tuned. But before we get in, drop a like on today's video because I don't get paid from YouTube much, and you'll be making a lot more from this information than I will from YouTube. So our first category is buying. So what do you buy and where do you buy? Now there's two main places of where people buy stock. And the first massive misconception is that you need a supplier or a wholesaler. And don't get me wrong, this is one of the main ways you can buy your stock, but here's why I don't really suggest this when starting out. So first things first, finding the right supplier can be great, but also a massive pain in the ass. There's a lot of risks, a lot of money you have to put up front, and a lot of reliability on that supplier. Now all these suppliers that you see on TikTok or Facebook ads or YouTube, where do you think these wholesalers get their stock from? It's all from other wholesalers. It's just one big pyramid scheme. Yes, there are some very, very good suppliers, and yes, I do have some of my own suppliers. I've never found these wholesalers or suppliers from TikTok or social media or anything like that. The only way I've found these is through networking, which I got from doing the other methods. So trust me, you do not need a supplier to make money when starting out. Let's make that clear. So what's the main method we're going to be talking about today? And this is actually buying off Vinted. You're probably thinking, well, how can you buy off Vinted and then resell on Vinted and make money? As I said, there's 16 million people using this app who most of the time don't actually know what price to sell something, therefore leading to selling it for a lot cheaper. So what do you need to do? Well, first you need to find out the products that you want to buy. Now, what should you buy? The biggest tip I will give you first of all is what interests you. This sounds completely stupid, but you can actually make money off anything on Vinted. You just need to have a good look. So do you have any experience in any of these secondhand clothing or have a passion for any of these? That's what I would focus on at the start. Do you have experience in football boots or streetwear brands like Stussy, Supreme, Palace? Or do you know the market well for Ralph Lauren? Because there's a load of items you can make money off there. That will be my first protocol of what you should actually start looking at. Because if you have experience in something, you know how to make money off it, then this is going to come easy. Now if you still don't have any ideas, I'll still give you some suggestions that I personally resell and make good money off. First things first, as I mentioned before, Ralph Lauren. I usually focus on things like the knits because these are very, very popular, especially coming in the winter months. Quarter-zips as well, polo shirts, these sort of items all have really high retail prices, some going for over £150. But second hand, you can usually pick these up for below £30. Now second up, I have a passion for streetwear. I come from a shoe background and got into vintage reselling for quite a long time now, but I've always dealt with a lot of Supreme, Stussy, Corteiz, Palace, all of these sort of brands I have previous knowledge on, so this is my personal favourite because not only do I enjoy what I'm buying and what I'm going for, I also know the market quite well. So I tend to stick to t-shirts and hoodies for these designer items, well, more streetwear brands, because I know if I pick up a Stussy t-shirt for £10 to £15, I know I can sell it for £20 to £30 quite comfortably. Same with hoodies, if I can pick it up for under £20, I know it's going for £40 plus. Another option that a lot of people go for is outwear, so things like puffer jackets that are North Face or Ralph Lauren puffer jackets, or outwear jackets like Arc'teryx, Montbell, there's loads of different brands. The puffer jackets you can usually pick up for really cheap and they usually have retails over £300 brand new, so if you're picking these up for £40 to £60, you're most likely going to easily sell it for £100. Now you know what items you're going for, this is the key part. You have a list of brands that you like, the categories such as t-shirts and so on. The best and free way is to set this in Vinted. Go onto Vinted yourself, set the brands you want to look out for, set the category and set the price filter, making sure you're changing changing the filter to newest first. Now, whenever you're free during the day, keep refreshing this. If you've got a spare 10 minutes on your lunch break, if you're having a cup of tea, have a quick look. And if anything catches your eye within these price filters, then you can go for it. Now, don't get me wrong, you will miss out on some stuff that does sell out really quick, but I've got another solution for you just now. If you're having no success from using this technique of all the categories and the price filters on newest first and doing it manually, then you can look at something that's a little bit more complex and it does cost a little bit of money. And this is called a Vinted monitor. So a Vinted monitor essentially monitors for any new items on Vinted. So you can set your own custom price filters and your brands, and then whenever something that meets them filters is posted on Vinted, you will be directly notified, which you can then purchase it. Now this is really handy because all of the really good stuff and the real steal prices go within seconds. So if you have a Vinted monitor, this is what I personally use a lot at the moment, and if I want to, I can pick up to 20 items a day. Pick up, buy, done, ship to me, do the tips and tricks I'll talk about later, and resell for a lot more. Now I know I mentioned I'm not here to sell you a course or anything, but a Vinted monitor is quite expensive. So what I did is I actually made my own one, and if you guys want to use it, I'm going to give you access for 50% off, so you can join for £7.50. There's no Vinted monitor out there that's cheaper, and not only that, we're going to give you a full list of all the brands with all the Vinted monitor features, and we give you the option to make your own custom ones that no one else can see. So you send to me, I want to see all the streetwear brands, Stussy, Corteiz, Palace and all that. I want to see all of these below £15. I will set a custom monitor just for you, only for £7.50. Now with this, you're going to get all the guides with all the price filters we recommend to purchase at and what to resell at, 24/7 support and all of that good stuff. Just make sure you use code VINTED at checkout if you want to get access to this, and you can join for £7.50. But not only that, if you want all the sneaker information, because we do that as well, it costs a little bit more, but I'll leave all the information down in the description. Now I don't want to spend too much time selling a product to you guys, so now let's talk about some more juicy information. So that's how you're going to buy your items off Vinted, sell it back on Vinted or Depop or eBay. You're going to make the most money doing this, especially off a Vinted monitor, because you're going to catch all the steals. Now let's move on to selling. So how many times do you go on Vinted and you see new listings and you think, I could make that listing better? And this is where it's key for selling. You want to repurpose your item to look nicer, create a better listing, it's more appealing to the eye, and here are some tips and tricks to do this. First up, your title and description. Make this detailed. If it's a certain style, find out what that style is and put it in the title. In your description, you want to put the detail of the condition. You can also add measurements to avoid people messaging you. This is the chest length and all that sort of stuff. And also if there's any marks or anything you should point out, any holes or tears or anything like that, put it all in your description. Trust me, it's going to lead to less messages and time wasters, and also anyone trying to return the items. So photos. Now you want to make sure that these are nice, crispy, clean photos. You want to range from 4 to 7 photos, highlighting all of the marks, the condition, and so on. Best way to do this is doing a bird's eye view. I will pop up some photos on screen as good examples, and the really good tip and trick we will get into just in a minute about how you can actually take better photos as well. So your title description needs to be on point to make your listing stand out from the rest, and therefore you can get more money. The amount of times where I've actually seen something sitting on Vinted for days, I've bought it because I know the photos and the quality description isn't the best. As soon as I've bought it, got it, I've given it an iron, I've got it in my nice setup, taken some nice crispy clean photos with a good title and description. This increased the value by over 30% and sold within 24 hours. Now where to sell? Now I personally actually list them up on all the different marketplaces. Some people will only stick to Vinted, but I personally list everything back on Vinted, Depop and eBay because I find this is the best. All you got to do is make sure to remove the listing after it's sold on one platform. Don't be like me, who has many times double sold a product and then you're having to cancel one of the orders. Just by listing on all three, you're tripling your chances, you're getting more eyes onto your product, so it's just better chances of selling. Now reviews, this is something you will build over time, and what you'll actually find is you'll start selling more once you have 10 positive reviews, and as soon as them reviews keep going up, you'll also keep selling more. So it might be a little slow when starting out, but trust me, keep building them reviews and you will sell more items. Now here are the must know tips and tricks. If you don't like ironing like me, I actually bought myself a portable steamer that was only about £35 from Amazon. I'll actually leave the link in the description if you want to use it. What this allows you to do is get all of the creases out of the t-shirts or clothing that you do buy, and makes your listing look so much better and so much more high quality. Next up is having a nice background. Now you can use a nice neutral colored carpet or a kitchen desktop. This can also work, but if you don't have anything that looks quite nice, what you can do is buy a full whiteout background. Basically this is like one big sheet of paper, if you want to call it that, and it gives you a completely clean slate to work off, and it generates some real nice photos. So I'll also leave a link in the description if you want to pick up this from Amazon. This is not an affiliate link or anything, just my personal recommendations. Another tip I briefly mentioned when doing the description, measurements actually really help. This gets rid of all the time wasters. They know how big it is. They cannot complain if they get it and it's too small because they had the measurements. Now another tip is I personally actually listed up for £3 to £5 more than I want. If you've ever been on Vinted before, nothing usually sells at the sell price and everyone will try and offer you less. So list it up a little bit higher than what you want and then you can accept any lower offers if that makes sense. Build your social media. Now social media is your best friend. As soon as you start building the reviews, start posting the stock up on Instagram, start doing some reels, start doing some posts, start doing some stories. Build a name for yourself. This is going to help you create a brand, become more reputable and get more customers. Yes, Vinted is great because it has no seller fees. However, on Instagram, if you've got the clientele, you can charge so much more for your products. Also leads to people coming to you if they want to buy something even if you don't have it. And then you can source the product, use their money to buy the product and make a nice, usually 30 to 40% margin off it. Legit checking. Obviously, make sure all of your items are legit. If you're not experienced in that area, there's a couple ways you can legit check. First things first is always check out the seller that you're buying from. This is usually a good indication if they're actually reputable or not. Have they got loads of reviews, blah, 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 blah. Next up, what I personally do is analyze that size tag or anything that's distinguished on that piece of clothing. So for example, a Stussy size label, I'll then look on Google for an authentic one, compare the both, and then go off that. Another way you can do this is by asking the seller if they have proof of purchase when they first bought. I'll be honest, don't think it's fake if they suddenly just turn around and say no, because a lot of the time that might be the case. They might have just put it somewhere, do you know what I mean? But if you can get that proof of purchase, you know you're pretty much safe. And last things last, if you are still unsure whether an item is not legit, you can actually pay for a legit check on a couple different apps. I think there's one called Legit App Authenticator. I'll pop up a screenshot on screen. They do a range of different clothing, Ralph Lauren, Palace, Supreme, all that sort of stuff. You can get legit checks and I think it costs a couple pound per legit check. You might want to do this for your first couple and after you get a bit more experience, you know you can do it, you know, just by looking. And remember guys, if you buy something from Vinted and it comes and it is fake, make sure you do this in the first 48 hours of posting or receiving is what I mean. This is because you can actually create a case about an order within 48 hours of it being delivered, and if you show proof that the item is fake, you'll just be able to send the return and get your money back. But make sure it's within that first 48 hours. Any Vinted parcel you get, check it as soon as you can. Create a case if that is the case when it's, you know, not legit, and you'll be able to get your money back, no problem, no risks. And that is how you're going to make £1,000 a month from Vinted reselling. Again, if you want that Vinted monitor to kickstart your reselling career, check that link in the description, use code YouTube, and you can join for only £7.50. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.